This is Josh Pate, and you're listening to the Football Talk Podcast with Coach Chip.
Hey, coaches. Welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip, the podcast, episode 2. Today we're going to be talking about tips for coaches. But before we get started, let me remind you, go over to my YouTube page too. Great video content, over 200 videos covering everything from air raid, passing game, to power full house backfield running game. If you know a coach that you want to tell me about, that you'd love to hear on the Football Talk with Coach Chip podcast, give me a holler. Siegel.chip, that's SEAGLE .chip @gmail.com. All right, as I said, we're going to be talking tips for coaches. It's a few things I've learned in my 4 decades of coaching. All right, I always get asked this by young coaches, and they ask me, how do you keep a job? How have you always kept a job? I've consistently told them this one and the next point that I'm going to make. Bust your butt and work hard. Look for things to do. Jimmy Johnson says the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. Think about it. It's extraordinary effort. And I believe in my heart of hearts that kept me jobs and got me jobs when I really didn't know as much as I thought I knew. Busting your butt, doing extra before you leave, saying, Coach, anything else I can do is going to keep you a job. And then the second thing I tell them, always tell them this too, be loyal to your head coach. If you cannot be loyal to the man in charge, it's time to move on. You've got to go. And you say, well, that's easy for you to say now that you're retired. No, I did it. I was at a place for 9 years. They brought in a guy my 10th year. I really thought it was going to be my forever home as far as coaching goes. And he wasn't a bad guy. Okay. He wasn't. I just didn't see eye to eye with him on a lot of philosophy and things like that. And I just wasn't happy. And I decided, I caught myself biting my tongue, not in the coaches' meetings, but because I was not going to run him down in the public. And I did not want to have to be loyal to somebody I didn't believe in. And I don't believe you can work for a person that you're not loyal to. Another thing that helped me, this goes along with being loyal, that helped me keep jobs, is I believed it was my job to make him look good. You know, and you say, well, how are you going to get another job? You bust your butt and be loyal at the job you have right now, and you'll find opportunities down the road. I promise. It worked for me for 40 years. I was always a company man. Okay, if you inherit the head coach, which is what happened to me, that's when you got to make those hard choices. But if you inherit a head coach that you can't believe in, it's time to move on. But if they bring you in, why in the world would you not be loyal to them? They gave you the cockeyed job. How can you not be loyal to somebody that's putting food on your table, that gives you an opportunity to grow as a coach, that gives you an opportunity to pay your bills? How can you not be loyal to that person? And don't worry about getting credit. Just being able to, if you bust your butt and you're on a good staff and y'all have a good team, that goes on your resume too. A rising tide lifts all boats. When the sun shines every morning, it shines on every dog's butt. It doesn't just shine on the big dog's butt. There's enough sunshine to go around for everybody. As long as the sun is out, we're all getting a tan. Every one of us. Be loyal. Make that person look good. And that's the next thing I tell young coaches when they ask me, how have you consistently kept jobs? Bust your butt and be loyal to the head coach. Be a company man. Here's a few more. Remember, it's not about you. Eliminate me, mine, I from your vocabulary. Never forget that it's all about the kids. It's not about you. You're not reliving the glory days. But you got to remember the reason you're there, to give them a good experience playing football, help them develop as young people, teach them the game, and make sure it's fun, because it's all about the kids. Nobody is paying to come watch you coach. As big a deal as Saban was at Alabama, people didn't come to watch him. They come to watch the kids that he put out there on the field. Part of your job is to make sure the kids have a positive experience, not you. The 2-letter words me and my and the 1-letter word I are much more offensive to me than a whole host of 4-letter words I can think of. I remember going to a coach's clinic back in the 90s, and I won't call any names, but it was a big-time coach. He was on the move, and he was at a big-time SEC program. And the guy I went to the clinic with, it was back in the day when we paid to go to our own clinics, and we didn't have a budget for that at the school we were at, and the two of us were football nerds. So we drove all night, and he got up and talked. And, it was good football stuff. He ran a good system. But we both looked at each other when he kept saying, me, I. And I'll probably say it more over the years now that I'm no longer affiliated with a particular program and a particular coaching staff. But I try to say we as much as I can and us. And it goes back, those 30 years ago, and I'll never forget sitting there in that clinic and hearing that guy say me and my and I. Now, I'm a firm believer in having a sense of ownership in your position group, in your team, in your school, in your program. You say it's my program. I understand that because I'm a big believer in have a sense of ownership. And I believe that comes up later in here as one of the tips. But try to eliminate that because it's not about you. It never was about you. If the kids are not a big part of the reason why you do what you do, you might be in the wrong business. Do your job as well as you can do it. In order to do your job as well as you can do it, you need to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. If you're a classroom teacher and you have break duty or you have some type of supervision, have your butt there. This goes back to respecting the head coach. If you're late for duty or if you miss a duty because you say, I didn't get hired to do that, I got hired to coach. Your head coach has to hear that crap from the principal. Those are little things. Be there. Be where you're supposed to be. Be on time. Be on time for meetings. Do your job. Next tip. We don't know as much as we think we know usually. You have to be a true student of the game. To this day, at my age, after 40 years in coaching, retired, I'm still learning. I'm still diving in every day. Educators, which are what coaches are supposed to be lifelong learners. When you get to that point, you say, now I know it all, or now I know everything I need to know. But then you're in trouble. I heard this years ago, and it's true as it could ever be. It's good to know what you know. Be an expert in what you know. Know as much about it as you can. But it's also important to know what you don't know. There's no crime, there's no sin that you won't be punished for saying, I don't know about that. I have guys that hit me up all the time on emails. Not as much as they used to because I've already told them no. I politely said because they want to know about 8-man football, 9-man football. I don't do any videos on that on my YouTube channel. Why? Because I don't know it. I'm not going to get up here and present something I don't know because I know I don't know it. A few guys from Canada have hit me up. I said, I don't know, do what I'm doing on these videos and add a 12th guy. I don't know about 12-man football. No more than I know about 8 or 9-man football. Know what you know, be a lifelong learner. Maybe I should take my advice and learn more about Canadian ball. Assistant coaches, approach your job as if you're the head coach of that group. When y'all break up into your individual time, you are the head coach. Okay, whether you're coaching the H's, the fullbacks, the tight ends, and there's not but 3, 4, 5 guys in your group, or whether you're coaching the line and you got 15 guys in your group, you are the head coach of that group. Have that sense of ownership. You need to have that sense of ownership that this is my group. You want to know how to prepare yourself for being a head coach? Be the head coach of your position group. Have that sense of these are my guys. These guys, this is my responsibility. And that will prepare you as much as anything for being a head coach. Now, you head coaches, you need to empower your assistants. Try to limit correcting them as much as you can in front of the kids. If I'm getting on to your kid about something, I'm getting on to you. I tell them that privately. I tell them that in coaches' meetings. Understand, when I'm fussing at the right guard about not doing something right, I'm really fussing at the O-line coach. Be adaptable. Learn as much as you can about as much as you can. You're a wide receiver coach. Learn more than just wide receivers. After years of going to clinics and sitting in wide receiver talks, don't you get bored with that? Go learn another position. Go learn. You're a wing T guy. Go learn another offense. Read a book about the run and shoot. Read a book about the air raid. Because some of that stuff is transferable. And never be that guy that says that crap won't work. And I was against wing T stuff. Why? Because I didn't understand it. But once I learned it, and it was an evolutionary process. At that time, I was a defensive coach. Had to go up against a bunch of wing Ts, and I saw how good they were. And I saw the practicality and the usefulness of the offense. And then a few years later, I was at a place, and we were grasping for something that we could survive until we built the program up and had some kids move out, some other kids come up the ladder from the middle school. And we went wing T. And by then I had a little bit of understanding of it. I was ready to make that move. And I became a wing T guy for the next, well, I still am. Because even, y'all watch the videos. I got a lot of wing T in me. The inability or refusal to adapt results in obsolescence. You will be obsolete if you don't adapt. Again, let's go back to Saban again. By the time he won that last natty in 20, those offenses didn't even look remote like the offense he won the first one in 09. Defensively, they were still running basically the same concepts, but he quit recruiting the great big 250-pound linebackers, getting guys that could run and strike, because that's the way football went. He evolved. There's a reason we don't see Tyrannosaurus Rexes running around anymore. They failed to adapt. They failed to change. And you've got to change with the times, or you're going to wind up on the side of a milk carton, dude. Study film. It's out there. Study video. Man, I'm going to tell you what, Lord have mercy, I wish we'd have had YouTube and all the other things and the great clinics back in the mid-'80s when I first started. Read books. I've got a ton of books, like paperback, hard copy, and I also have on my Audible coaching books, things on culture, motivation. There's X's and O's books too. So how do you do that in Audible? They have to talk it out. But podcasts are great. All the podcasts that are out there that are free. Guys, it's a clinic all the time. Apple podcasts are great. I listen to most of mine on Spotify. Social media. I know it's a cesspool. I know it. God knows. But my Twitter, I've policed it very well. My X now. And it's always just coaching stuff for the most part. The other stuff, because I don't pay the extra money, I get stuff that pops up. I just go on past it. But Twitter is good, /X. YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel. Go to anybody's YouTube channel. Learn football. And don't just watch stuff that's what you like and what you agree with. You're not going to learn any more football if you're a wing T guy and all you ever listen to are wing T guys. If you're an air raid guy. And now I see so much of it married together. It's insane. And that goes from the NFL on down to the youth leagues. These coaches pages like Football Talk with Coach Chip on Facebook. Kenny Simpson has great, God, I don't know how many pages he's got on Facebook. But go to my Twitter, look at who I follow, and follow them. Go to my Twitter X. Just click on me, see who does Coach Chip follow. I don't follow anybody but coaches. I had a friend of mine a few years ago. I told him to do it. He never posts anything, tweets anything, ever. But he goes on there all the time. And he found he's a defensive guy, and he found a lot of defensive coaches on there. Football Talk with Coach Chip on YouTube. Learn as much of the game as you can, and it's out there. If you are stagnant in your knowledge today, that's a choice you're making. There are 3 states of a football game. Remember this. What has happened, what just happened, is number 1. This is the next tip. Number 2, what is happening right now. And number 3, what will happen. Learn from what just happened. Be situationally aware of what's going on and know something else is about to happen. And if you'll learn from what happened, you'll be okay. What is happening and what will happen are not dependent on one another unless we allow it. You get upset about a referee call and let that stuff linger, it's going to rub off on your kids. Every snap of a game has a life of its own. Move on to the next snap. Be where your feet are. What happened on previous snaps has no direct impact on the next snap. Learn from it. You made a mistake. Don't do that again. Oh, they did that last time. It was third and whatever. File that away. Yes, that stuff matters. But don't sit there and dwell on it. Don't beat a guy up for the next 5 or 10 minutes because he missed an assignment. Correct it. Move on. Because you're going to need that kid to make a play later. Later in that game, the next season. Move on. Learn from the previous snaps. Move on to the next snap. This applies double to how we react to bad calls by the officials. I know several times in my career, a bad call beat me twice. It beat us twice because everybody on the sideline is so upset about that call. We don't get the next call in, coaching call, or we're late getting a call in. The other team gets a good play off of it. And that's our fault. That's our fault. It's a bad call. Everybody in the stands and on the sidelines knows it was a bad call. They saw the call. So what are you trying to do? Show them that you care? Do you really care? If you really care, move your butt on to the next play. Let the ref know that you disagreed with it and move on. Kind of look at him, pat him on the shoulder and say, all right, that's your call. All right, let the kids know, yeah, I got your back, but we got to go to the next play. Do not try to do someone else's job. Don't coach another guy's position unless he asks you to. Now, I've had guys get mad at me when I was the OC, said, let me coach my guys. I said, dude, he's my guy. You work for me. When they get mad, I said, I'm going to coach every position on offense. Now, if I'm the offensive coordinator and I see a defensive guy screwing up, I'm not going to correct him. I'm going to ease over to his position coach or to the D coordinator and say, hey, was he supposed to do that? I said, or is he supposed to be that deep or that shallow? But I'm not going to correct the kid. Now, I will coach a kid in this way, another guy's kid. I will repeat what I've heard that guy just say to him. I'm not going to coach another guy's kid unless I'm just echoing what he said. Or how about when somebody doesn't even know how to do their job, but yet they're trying to tell you how to do your job? Don't be that guy. Don't coach other guys. Ask them after practice, why did you do that? You may be surprised that it made sense and you'll learn something. Always be a learner, whether you're head coach, coordinator, position coach, community guy, always be learning. All right, with the last tip in mind, assistants need to be collegial with one another. Another great line, remember the Titans, is like my favorite football movie, when he said, hey, Herman, I could use some help. Oh, Coach so-and-so's over there, he's kicking my butt. Ask coaches for help. When I had a new concept on offense, our DC was our secondary coach. I said, hey, man, what do you think of this? Or if I wanted to put a funky formation in for Friday night, those formations, I love the formation people. I said, look here, how would you line up this? Give me an idea what to expect or how they would react. And sometimes I think to myself, okay, that's not a good idea. Sometimes, okay, I'm going to do that. Because if it's giving him problems, because we were pretty dadgum sporty, then I knew we were okay. Head coaches need to be supportive, especially in front of the team, fans, and community. Okay? Don't be cussing out your assistants on Friday night. Say, well, that's just my personality. Then your personality sucks. Let the head coach handle the parents, assistant coaches. You don't get paid enough to worry about those. You get paid to coach their kids. Parent comes to you with an issue, say, hey, you need to talk to Coach so-and-so. Parents can often twist whatever you say to suit their narrative. And what they take back to the head coach or the AD won't be what you said, or they take it differently to suit their narrative. Let the head coach handle the parents. Believe me when I say, if it ain't one thing, it's a mother. And I'm not being discriminatory to women, but it's a mother rhymes better with it's another than it's a father does. There's people like moms, dads, whatever, who know as much about football as I do about rocket science, that think their child is better. You don't want to deal with these people. You don't get paid enough to deal with them. Let the head coach do that. I know guys right now that have been head coaches, that are position coaches and coordinators now, because that's the reason why. They don't want to deal with parents. They just want to coach football. Always volunteer to do more work. Look for work. I have an old saying, losers dodge work. Mediocre people will work when the work finds them. Most of us are that way. But winners, they're going to find work. They're going to look for work. Look for work. Example, do the laundry. Clean the locker room. Paint the field. Tag film. Especially you young coaches, endear yourself. Make yourself as inexpendable as possible. Because I'm going to tell you now, if somebody came to me, we're going to have to cut your staff by one coach. I'm going to get the guy that does the least. I don't care what position he coaches. I can find somebody that's still there to do the position, on the field stuff. Who's doing the most? Who's making my life as a head coach better? Who's making my life as a coordinator better, easier? I'm keeping that dude. And believe you me, coaching is not that glamorous when you're picking up those nasty clothes and washing that laundry. When you're on the road, just another thing, always leave the locker room looking better than you found it. Always. Always. One time we had somebody tore something up. As God is my witness, I didn't know that he had done it. But we got in there. I tell you this, though, when we left, that thing may have been torn up, and I didn't know about it, but there wasn't any paper left on the floor. I'm going to walk before I get on the bus or to leave. I'm going to walk that thing. And kids will pick up on that stuff, and they'll pick up after themselves eventually. Always clean up the locker room when you go on road trips. It's called class. Someone else just because they were an unclassy bunch and you're pissed off about what happened during the game or how that coach reacted to something on the field, that has no effect on your class. Their lack of class has no effect on your class. Be prepared every day. Know what you need. Have it with you. It is better to have and need not than to need and have not. Better to have something you don't need than to need something you don't have. Bring everything with you every day. Here's your checklist for practice. Whistle. I started keeping mine in my truck because we practiced around the corner, and I always use my truck to haul the balls and stuff up to the practice field. So I just leave my whistle in the truck. Have your practice schedule, okay, and whatever sleeve you're going to put in it. Equipment, bags, dummies, cones, etc. Have that stuff with you. Now listen to me. Your drills need to be set up before the period starts. I don't care if you're on 5-minute periods, 8-minute periods, 10-minute periods. Time is time. We all operate on the same time. You do not want to waste your valuable teaching time setting up a cockeyed drill. You say, well, Coach, I teach X amount of classes a day. You got a planning period? If you got to go out there and put your cones and stuff wherever you're going to be doing your individual time. So all you got to do is lay your cones out real quick. Have them there. You go, walk out there on your planning period. Okay, again, find a way. Winners find work. Find a way to get it done. If you do not think you are coaching at a big-time program, this is a biggie. Maybe it's not the program that lacks being big-time, but it's you. I don't care if you're coaching at a place where you can't even do 11 on 11. You treat it like you're coaching at the New York Giants, University of Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. It don't matter. You treat it like that's the biggest deal in the world, that your program is big time. That crap rubs off on your kids. If you think you're too big for small jobs, maybe you're too small for big jobs. That goes with the other one too, about finding work. Stuff needs to be done, you do it. And by the way, you don't need a title to make a difference. You don't need anything. You don't even have a title. You just go out and help with the DBs. You can still make a difference in those kids' lives every time you go out there. Contrary to what you may think, none of us are too good for any job. You don't need a title, and you're not too good to do it. I don't care who you are. You treat it like what you want it to be, and it will become it. Treat it like what you want it to be, and it will become it. But if you treat it like a crap job, it's always going to be a crap job. You treat it like a crap program, it's always going to be a crap program. Build relationships with your players. We all want commitment from our players, but there's a difference between compliance and commitment. Or just get it done. And Bill Parcells' great quote, don't tell me about the pain, just show me the baby. But we got to build relationships with these kids. And that old saying goes, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's true. I mean, it's cliche. But coaching and teaching are about relationships. Okay, you don't get a relationship just by exercising authority. It's relationships that fuels the commitment. You've got to build. I'm talking about be their buddy. You can have a relationship with these kids without being their buddy. And remember this, a kick in the butt works best when it's followed by a pat on the back. I don't mean a literal kick in the butt. You ride one hard that day, you better find his fanny before he leaves to go home. If you miss him, you better text him or call him and then tell him, Don't apologize. Just remind him why. Why was I on you so hard today? Because I expect more of you. Because I believe in you that you can do more. Make sure they know that. Don't assume they know your motivation. Always critique the performance, never the performer. No matter how bad it was, they don't suck. Now, their performance might have sucked, but the kids don't. Research says that human mind absorbs negativity 7 times more than it absorbs positivity. So that means you need to be positive 7 times more than you're being negative just to balance it out. Just to balance it out. Now, you can teach by being negative, but you need to follow that up with positivity. Get on that butt. Like I said, the kick in the butt followed by a pat on the back. Be positive in your critiques. So, okay, here's what you did wrong. And make it, what do they call that? A compliment sandwich. Tell them something good about themselves. Tell them what was bad, and then end it with something good. So put the bad thing in the middle, and you get their attention. As a coach, I only try to dog out poor effort and a lack of focus. Don't dog out the kids. Dog out their effort, dog out their lack of focus. Those are things, in my opinion, you can be negative about. I can't coach effort, dude. I can't go, hey, where are you today? Tune in. Things like that. Get their attention. Be positive and encouraging whenever you get a chance. If you need to get on one hard at practice, be sure to love on them after practice. That's that kick in the butt, pat on the back. Jerry Kramer finally made the Hall of Fame, famous Green Bay Packer from Lombardi's Packers of the 60s. Early on in his career, early on in Lombardi's time at Green Bay, he got on him so hard, Jerry Kramer was thinking about quitting. He was a rookie, I believe. But Lombardi saw something in him, so he was riding him like a rented mule the entire practice. He'd heard all he wanted to hear. He was in the locker room contemplating, I can go back home and whatever it was he was going to do. He said, football's not for me. When Lombardi came in, gave him the famous Lombardi pat on the back of the neck. Son, one of these days you're going to be the best guard in football. And Kramer turned out to be like his prize student. And again, he was on all those championship teams. He was on the first 2 Super Bowl teams. Jerry Kramer became an all-time great offensive lineman in the NFL, and he was thinking about quitting. Lombardi had ridden him so hard. Omar Bradley said about George Patton, the great World War II tank commander general, he said, you give George a headline, he's good for another 30 miles. So you got to find out. Those kids, that's the kind of kid, if you give him a headline, you say something good about him, mention him in front of the booster club, mention him in front of the other kids, like in front of everybody, say, you had a good day today, man. That goes a long way with some people. Never let the kids think you are blaming them for a loss or a poor performance. It's not their fault. If anything goes bad, I did it. If anything goes semi-good, we did it. If anything goes really good, then you did it. That's all it takes to get people to win football games for you. Paul Bear Bryant. And another Parcells story, he got on this kid. They had gone over this. It was a boot pass. They were down near the goal line, and he's defensive coach. And he's like, Coach, and he got on that kid so hard and stayed on him, rode him entirely too long. When the head coach got him, he said, hey, leave him alone. He said, but Coach, we went over that over and over again. We went over that at least 10 times. He said, well, apparently that wasn't enough. That's you. You need to coach him better or coach him more, something like that. If you do not learn from a loss, you've lost twice. Nick Saban says, never waste a failing. Learn from the loss. Learn from the loss. If you go out there and you win a game by 6 or 7 touchdowns, you better find some things you did poorly and learn from that. Learn from those things. You can find failings even in a 50-0 win. The kids will learn from that. John Wooden said, failure is not fatal, but failure to change might be. Learn from your failures, learn from your shortcomings, and get better from it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything. I'm positive that a doer makes mistakes. People who don't make mistakes ain't doing crap. A mistake is valuable. If you do 4 things with it, recognize the mistake, admit the mistake, learn from the mistake, and then the big one, number 4, forget about it. Recognize it, admit it, learn, forget. Recognize, admit, learn, forget. Let's face it, we're all imperfect. Guys, we're all going to fall short on occasion, but we must learn from failure, and that will enable us to avoid repeating our mistakes. Through adversity, we learn, we grow stronger, and we become better people. You're not going to learn a lot if life's always a bed of roses. And you're not really a failure just because you fail. You're a failure when you quit or when you start blaming others for your mistakes. Just keep learning. Don't be a helicopter coach, constantly hovering over the kids. Don't do that. Let them make a mistake. I've reached out, grabbed assistants. They were about to cry. Let him go. Let him go. Let him make the mistake and then coach him up. Because we can learn so much from mistakes. Don't be that person that prevents them from making mistakes. That's why we practice. Now, they're making the same mistake over and over again. That's different. But they're about to screw one up. Let them screw it up. It's practice. Teach them not to get discouraged or angry. Teach the kids not to be discouraged or angry after making mistakes, after losses. Teach them how much they can improve. Teach them how much they can learn from the mistake, from the failure. That's what coaching's all about. Stay positive and take advantage of the opportunities that you get to coach them. Look at his mistake as an opportunity to learn. Look at a mistake as an opportunity to teach. You must teach young people how to deal with failure as much as how to deal with success. Life's not a bed of roses. It's not a bowl of cherries. And they got to learn that. That's part of the reason they're playing football. Football is a great allegory for life. And teach them failure is not terminal. It's not the end of the world. It means next time we learn from this and move on. What happens and is said in the coach's office stays in the coach's office. That is a non-negotiable. In the words of Michael Corleone from The Godfather 2, don't ever take sides with anyone against the family, ever. Because the community will take that as a sign of weakness on the staff, and they'll drive a wedge in that if things aren't going well. Y'all got to come together as a staff. You ain't got to agree on everything, but when y'all leave, you got to be on the same page. And remember this, a bad day of coaching football beats the hell out of a good day doing almost anything else, whether it be golf or whether it be fishing. But maybe fishing and golf are exceptions. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to episode 2 of Football Talk with Coach Chip, the podcast. All right, remember, make sure you follow the podcast. Make sure you go over to YouTube, click on follow that, like it, subscribe to it. Okay, give me some ratings here. Let me know what I need to do besides being so long-winded. But hey, you're in charge. You got the device in your hand. If you're like me and it takes you 50 minutes to run 3.5 miles, then I just got you through 3.5 miles. Or if you're on your morning walk, I just got you through your morning walk. Because if you're not doing it at least 50 minutes, why'd you even get out of bed and go out there and do it? That's what I say. So please visit the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Please like. See what I got there. I got a lot of freebies. I got my books. The Gap Down Backers Selling Like Crazy. The manual. And while you're over there, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can contact me at siegel.chip@gmail.com. I'm at Chip Siegel on X, Twitter. Football Talk with Coach Chip is my page on Facebook. Hey, until next time, be elite.